Hey, FlatsClass fans. I've got something a little bit different for FlatsClass YouTube today. If you've been following along in 2022, you probably have seen the videos, top 5 winter baits, top 3 springtime baits, top 10 summertime baits. Well, what would be my choices for the top 5 baits for 2022? Because we're down to the last, couple of weeks of 2022. And there were 5 polarizing baits that were basically game changers for me. While I go get those ready down there in the shop down the hill, go check out some of this action with Z-Man's Kicker Crab, because that's number 1. Episode of FlatsClass YouTube is brought to you by Aquatraction, your go-to solution for advanced marine flooring. Got him! Nice cove. Picked him right off that ray. That's what you're looking for. You find a stingray, you're in good shape. He's pretty fresh to want to bring in my boat. I don't know if I should give you guys too good a look at this bait. This is a prototype crab profile that we're working with at Z-Man. But he did not refuse it, that's for sure. My lure, if you will. These fish they have a relationship with these big southern stingrays, and they ride the edge of the ray or just behind the ray, and they for the most part just use them as a way to apprehend prey. And I threw that little crab lure behind them. I'm gonna try to get him under control here without getting my hands in those spines. Now this one's not a legal one by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of fun to catch and a great sight fishing target. That's some of the stuff that we're looking for out here on these big flats. Not necessarily the size that I'm looking for, but a good opening fish and a great reaction, and textbook how it all came together, where you see the ray and then you're able to take care of business with a nice, good presentation. I'm gonna let this guy go so he can go find another stingray, and then we will hunt down another. That was one of my favorite episodes from this past year, 2022. I mean, we shot that in April. I apologize for not showing you the crab in the actual episode because I couldn't. At that point, the Z-Man Kicker Crabs hadn't been launched at ICAST yet. So we had to keep it, top secret. So I had to keep it in my box so no one could see it. But when I go back and reflect on how good a bait this was, and you can rig it a number of ways. Here's how I had it rigged in that particular episode. This is the snake locks, and the snake locks is just an incredible rigging system where you have it head weighted with lots of freedom of the head. It swings, there's no need for a loop knot, and you still have the extra wide gap set up there to make it weedless. You can swim it over grass and it won't come off the hook. So a fantastic setup. Not only good for the cobia, but we caught bull redfish on this. We caught snook on this bait. We've caught trout on this bait. We even launched a tarpon or two, but was unable to keep them on the hook for the entire duration of the battle without them shaking it free. Definitely for me, this in 2022 was number one. I mean, there had been a lot of stabs at making an incredible crab lure over the years by a lot of different companies, but this one actually works. And you can work it. It's not just a sight fishing bait. You can power fish with this bait. You can swim it. So it looks realistic if it's on the surface of the water and a tarpon rolls up on it. It looks great as a swimming crab over top of oyster bars, so redfish and snook want it. It's an incredible bait. It really is. And I'm proud to say FlatsClass had a lot to do with that one. I bet you're wondering what number 2 is. I'll pull it out of the box. Number 2, definitely Mirrolure's Skin Series, the whole lineup. And they expanded it this year to include even the small guys. And they added a top water. This is the same size as the Top Dog Junior. But the Skin Series is so realistic. It was a top seller for Mirrolure, and it was a top producer for myself and my clients, especially when they launched these little guys. These are the MR14s in the Skin Series. This is the pilchard look. Oh, I mean, just amazing. The realism and the vicious strikes by speckled trout, redfish, and snook. I would have to say number 2 on the 2022 list was definitely Mirrolure Skin Series. I can see them carrying this through a few more models going forward. I don't know that to be true, but I can see them doing that because it has been so well received. And the one thing you can always count on by inshore fishermen, if something doesn't work, inshore guys sniff it out really quick and the sales, woo, go right off the table. Not this one. These were the hottest selling Mirrolures across the board in multiple states than any other color. I mean, it was that good. Want to know what number 3 is? Number 3 for me was a Mighty Mite. It was the Salty Ned's Shrimp. These things were fantastic. I mean, if you had a tough bite with spooky fish, if you wanted to fish snook at dock lights, if you just needed something because the water was so cold and the fish just were not reactive and needed to get an eat, these little baits, whoops, they did it. In fact, I'll go get that one down there that jumped out of my hand because it looks so realistic. You go check out the action with my client, Robert Mealy, from a few weeks ago where we were backcountry fishing. Watch him stick this fish. I'll be right back. Get to the bait. Keep looking to the right.
I see him, I see him. I did not mean to throw it that far. Has he got it?
He got it.
Yeah. He did pick it up. All right, this is going to be entertaining.
Salty Ned shrimp. Nicely done. Nicely done. Those little baits catch some fish. And this is my favorite way to rig it. This is the Finesse Bullets. And this is a piece of terminal tackle that is made by Z-Man. If you rig it on this, you're able to swim it over shell bars, swim it through the grass, pull it across the bottom, and it will remain snag proof. It really will. And there's nothing, I mean nothing, that's not in the mood to eat something that small. Speckled trout, redfish, anything. Still haven't tried it on bonefish yet, but that's coming up. And docklight fishing, like I said earlier, this is a no-brainer. Bet you're wondering what the next bait is, number 4. It's a good sight fishing one. Number 4, I would say Bugs Fishing really hit a home run. Now, these are old standards for them over the last few years, but for me in 2022, they really drove it home. I could have clients catch fish on these baits. They're fairly weedless, especially when I'm fishing over grass most of the time, and that's because of the unique head, and I'll come in tight so you can see it. That upswept line tie there It is just, it's a solid design. This is their Beastie Bug, and the breathability of this rabbit fur really just makes this thing come alive when you're popping it off the bottom. Looks like any crustacean that swims along. And then I really did fall in love with these Redfish curl jigs. When I needed to power fish, but I needed something very finessey to power fish with, something I could really kick out there and get some good distance. That's kind of tough to do with smaller plastics. But with this, I could do it, and I could fire it out there with my bait caster. This one has a little rattle chamber on the bottom of it. Makes it sound a lot like a crab, just clicking along, clicking along, clicking along. Does a fantastic job of fooling reds and black drum. And then when I need something a little quieter, that little Beastie Bug was dynamite for me, especially in clear water. The breathability, the rubber legs. I mean, he knows how to tie a good jig. So I would say that was number 4 in 2022, when I absolutely needed that hybrid bait that was kind of finesse and kind of power fishing. Bugs Fishing came through for me. Number 5, right after you watch this video. This was a trip that I did with my buddy, Captain Adam Maye, right here in Homosassa. And we ran down, all the way down there to Pasco County to do a little bit of fishing. Go check this out. I'll be right back, show you that bait. I count on those fish being back there because on those windy days, even though you don't get lots of shots, the shots that you do get are typically really big fish, big snook and big redfish. And throwing a big bite bait like that Hercules minnow, I felt as soon as I tied it on and started making casts across the wind and even through the wind, I felt like there's no way I'm not gonna catch the fish that matters off this bait, because it does not catch little fish. It only gets the big ones. There he is, there he is.
That's a good one too.
That's a good one. Oh man. That bait, I mean, I had to use it to cheat the wind, but it's such a big bait. I told you, I was like, we're not gonna catch anything on this but a big fish. But a big fish. It's a big fish bait. That's why they call it Hercules.
Well, it worked today.
I mean, we throw these crustaceans all day long, one imitation after another. And then it takes that big giant profile with that big hook to really get a giant. I mean, this fish is gonna be our best. I don't know, this might be barfly time, dude.
It might be.
It might be barfly time.
I know I'm feeling it. Sorry.
Trying to hang on to him here. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. He is all up under. This is everything I can do. Need a bigger net?
Yes, we need a bigger net.
Hey man, that's the way to make a guide's day off work out right. Holy cow, yeah. That was a pig. Man, when I saw him jet out off that corner for it, and I was like, oh my God. That's exactly why, after throwing those tiny baits for the whole day, and then it gets down to where it's this late, and you're like, gotta throw something big to cheat that wind. And cast after cast after cast into that wind. Finally, it pays off. I had 2 or 3 snook just train this bait. I mean, just train it and never get it. And then that redfish there, which has got to be top, what do you think that thing is? Well over 32?
Yeah, I would say well over.
You might even be 33 or 34. You know, though, it looks like a crustacean color. You know, it's that Houdini color.
Yep.
But that was a bait that was launched at ICAST this past year. And that bait is one of my look at the hook in that bait.
Yeah, that's a hook ready for a tarpon or
That's
anything.
a tarpon hook. Let's get down in here and see if we can get this beast out of the net. Oh yeah, tear my thumb up. Oh, that's almost like Louisiana.
Yeah.
That is a big,
Look at the belly
big
on it.
fish. Well, that episode proved to me when the chips are down and you absolutely positively have to catch a fish to finish an episode, you got to bring out a big bait and just power fish. Now, most of that episode that we shot, we spent kind of finesse fishing even in challenging conditions as that wind picked up. But I'm going to tell you right now, the tougher conditions get, the better off you are throwing a bait that can cover a ton of real estate. Not a little bit of real estate, I mean your longest cast on every cast. And that's exactly what the Z-Man Hercules does. It's one of those baits that has a giant hook in it. It's got that big thumping tail on the back of it. It just has that right body, that right weight that you can throw right into a 20-knot wind and still get some distance and have a lot of success. It's got a big hook for big fish. I fish this bait a lot for snook. It's absolutely one of my top go-to snook baits, but it catches redfish. It will catch tarpon as well. But it's just one of those types of baits that every body of water, no matter where you fish, from Texas all the way up the upper Gulf Coast, Florida, and then up the Atlantic seaboard, all the way past, the zone where you'd go striper fishing, baits like these catch fish. And this one is built for speed. Long cast, reel it back. It comes in a variety of sizes. This is the 4-inch, which I use a lot for inshore, but they have a 5 and a 6-inch size that are even heavier that we'll throw off the rocks here on the Nature Coast and catch plenty of inshore grouper. I'm telling you, if you want a bait that's going to catch you a big fish, a closer like it did for Captain Adam and I, this is it, the Hercules minnow, or I should say swim bait. Well, that concludes my top 5 lure choices for 2022. Those baits were game changers for me. To review, number 1 was that Z-Man Kicker Crabs. That was an amazing lure all year for me. 2, definitely the Skin Series lineup that came out of Mirrolure. I'll tell you what, it was not only the best-selling hard bait in salt water, but even for me, it was very, very productive. 3 would have to be the Ned Shrimps. That's right, the Ned Shrimps, the little Mighty Mite bait. That did wonders for those tough bite scenarios, cold water, spooky fish, super clear, super shallow. It's the only thing I thought to reach for. Number 4 was definitely Bugs Fishing. That hybrid type bait, that bait that has enough head weight where you can really zing a cast out there, but you can finesse it. So if you need to power fish over a shallow spot and then let it fall down into a trough or a little gully around an oyster bar, it was the perfect bait. It was definitely the right bait for fish like redfish and black drum. And then I'd have to say, lastly, when you absolutely have to catch a big one, a closer, if you will, the Hercules swim bait from Z-Man. I love throwing that thing. I love a bait that you can outcast the other guy on the boat and always catch the big one. Who doesn't want to do that? I just don't get it. All right, if you like what you see here on FlatsClass YouTube, give us that thumbs up, and you know what I'm gonna say next. Smash that subscribe button. I can't believe not more of you subscribe to this channel. You watch the videos, we get the views, we get the minutes watched, but why don't you subscribe? We're putting 3 or 4 quality videos out a week. I wanna make sure we're your inshore authority on how to catch fish. All right, until next time, Captain CA signing off.